Hi, I'm Erin from the Witch of Saturn here with my Astro bestie Maggie from Made by Mag's Astro. Hi,
Hi.
Maggie. So today is September 30th. We are looking at the astrology for the week ahead, taking us through the first week of October.
It's already October. My goodness.
I know it's crazy. It's wild. We're definitely into fall. I feel the shift in the
Yes.
whole vibe.
Yeah. Pumpkin spice everything. I don't like it, but
I
whatever.
love it. I'm all about
Do
it.
you like
Yeah,
it?
I'm a total basic bitch that way. Like, you give me all of the pumpkin things in a flannel and a cup of tea and pumpkin spice coffee, and I'm happy as can be. So, this
Where
is,
are we currently at
well, it's
here?
kind of like a lighter astrological week, let's say.
hmm
We-
Currently the moon's in Capricorn.
Yep,
There it is at 14 degrees.
almost my lunar return.
Oh, fun.
Mhm.
Uh, So what the moon's going to do here today is it's going to square Mercury overnight and then it's going to sit opposite Jupiter and that will lead us into so it'll make like a T square.
Here between these
Yes.
Moon,
And
Jupiter, and Mercury.
then that's going to lead us into the Mercury Jupiter square, which is the biggest aspect of this week.
And that, let me just switch to days. So we are looking at that coming exact on tomorrow, Wednesday
Yes.
at 4:59 p.m. So we see it here, 22 degrees and 22 degrees. And that's as the moon is getting ready to conjunct Pluto, which
Mhm.
makes me think that this is going to be more intense emotionally than it might typically because of Jupiter's tendency to expand things and the moon and Pluto being like deep, transformative, intense kind of extremes of emotion that ultimately allow us to
Right.
become like a phoenix rising and our what's in our best interest coming forward, but not necessarily an easy experience to go through. Do you agree with
No.
that?
Yeah, it's big information if we look at Mercury as the messenger of information
Mhm.
and Jupiter as a societal planet where that expands all the information.
Yeah.
Um, and have you heard that there are peace treaties going on, or they are trying to make a peace treaty between Hamas and Israel right now?
No, I had not, but I honestly have not been paying super close attention to what's going on in the news because it's too much for me.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot, but it makes me think of that because Mercury in Libra does want balance, it does
Yeah.
want equality, it wants harmony and peace.
Yeah, totally a
Um,
peacekeeper as long as things are just, right?
yeah, I think the problem there though is the moon making that harder aspect and then meeting with Pluto. What time does it meet with Pluto? Overnight. Oh, to no, tomorrow night by 6 p.m. So like or 6:30. So it's like Mercury square Jupiter, and then the moon makes a trine to Uranus and meets with Pluto like right after that. So it's almost like an announcement gets made, but then there's a retaliation or something. Like it just doesn't flow the way it should flow.
Well, also we have to remember that the moon conjuncting Pluto, even at now as it's moving through Capricorn and moving to apply to that conjunction, is in a Saturn, they're in Saturn ruled signs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's kind of we have to factor in the energy of Saturn being that if you're going to build something, it has to be the right way. And also, if that's not happening, there could be restrictions, delays, or overall like boundaries put in place around things. So I kind of wonder if that doesn't go through simply because of that.
Yeah, and with Saturn and its retrograde, it's just there's usually retrograde to me is like there's missing pieces still. There's something
Yeah,
that
I
you
can't move
need.
forward. We
Yeah,
have to like go backtrack and redo.
exactly. And then Mercury's in control of Uranus. So as soon as the moon trines Uranus, it's sort of back to Mercury before Saturn even takes over. Um, so that ever since Uranus has moved into Gemini and under the rulership of Mercury, it has just been like almost pure chaos with the information that comes out on a daily basis. It's up and down and all over the place. The way that Uranus is just sideways in general, it doesn't it's just not going to fit. It's not going to fit, be that square peg that fits into the hole perfectly. It's just not going to.
Like, are you speaking directly to my natal Mercury and Gemini placement where now Uranus is present and things?
How has that been for you?
It's like, let's take the Gemini brain, which is already pure duality and constant chaos, and just like electrify it.
Right.
You know?
And we're all feeling it out in the grander scheme of things because one day something is said, like let's take the tariffs for instance. I'm in Canada, you're in the US. We are under a tariff war right now. One day it's this, the next day it's not that anymore, then it's something else, and then it's something different, and then oh, it's going back and forth and back and forth, and it's there's like no conclusion in sight. So whatever this announcement is, it's just like one more thing on top of all the things. And it's been a lot of things. That's
Well,
for
I wonder
sure.
if that was part of the behind the scenes stuff with the Pluto, the Mars Pluto square that because of Neptune remained kind of secretive and behind the scenes. Like, I wonder if that energy is also kind of tied into whatever that discussion.
That's a really good point because then the moon is going to square Mars. So it does meet with Pluto and then it goes on to
Uh-huh.
square Mars. So this is yes, I believe something happened behind the scenes or undercover because Mars is in Scorpio and Pluto is very behind the scenes as well. That we didn't, nobody heard or understood. And now that this is coming up,
Be
it's
that.
the announcement behind what was happening there. Um, and that was when the United Nations were doing their thing, right?
Yeah.
And all we heard about was Trump getting stuck on an escalator. Like,
Oh, you
that
gotta
was the
love
big news
media.
from that is that the escalator didn't work.
And
Uh,
while we're on this subject of what's happening with these planets and the Mercury square to Jupiter, Jupiter in Cancer, um, it's exalted there. And
mhm.
Cancer is very much about like home, family, protecting that, like protecting homeland
It's the
and
nation. Yeah.
nation. Yeah. And I wonder if Jupiter there makes that a bigger vibe than usual. It's just an interesting dynamic between that kind of need to protect and expand that protective circle around the homeland with Mercury and Libra wanting peace and for things to be just and fair with the moon in like the moon conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius, which is definitely like what's best for the collective,
Right. Yeah.
right?
It does
But
have a lot to do with the overall group of the collective.
so it's an interesting dynamic there between those things that maybe don't all have the same priorities, right? If
Hmm.
you looked at the situation from through each one of those lenses, the outcome for each would be different. So I'm interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah, me too. Because yeah, there has been talks of like if Hamas lets go of all the people who are what's it called?
Captive?
Captive right now, yeah, then there will be a ceasefire and nothing bad will happen anymore. But like the president there, I don't know if he's a president or what they call him, but he's gone back on it a few times, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this when the moon hits this, it kind of reactivates this square, the Pluto
Right.
Mars square. Let's see what comes out about that. So that'll be over the
Yeah.
next
Yeah, my
2 days.
prediction is, oh, we're at peace here. There's a ceasefire, and then no, it's
No,
not.
not happening.
Yeah, gets reactivated again somehow.
So now how do you see this playing out in a more personal level for the people watching? Because I know like for me personally, I was really waiting for that Mars Pluto square to show up on the news, and it really didn't. But in my personal life, it was very emotionally challenging period last week.
Hmm.
And everyone in my immediate circle, it was like same, same. So I really saw that energy hit more on the personal level. And I wonder what this is going to kind of bring
I guess it
us.
depends on like everybody's personal natal chart. Is this hitting somewhere in your chart that is a big deal for you, right?
Of course. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like, what's some good advice that we could give people on how to navigate this, essentially this T square between the moon, Mercury, and Jupiter? Perhaps it's like to take the time to kind of weigh out all sides and not let the
Yes.
emotions get so big and intense, or to give it some time and wait and kind of sort things out
Yeah,
before
it's like when
acting.
somebody gives you really, really good news and you get your hopes up and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then they retract the offer or
Mm,
something like that.
right.
So, yeah, remain balanced and steadfast in like, yeah, that could be a really awesome new venture, but like, I need to understand all the information behind it. It seems like it's another too good to be true transit.
Interesting. That's interesting. Too good to be true.
Hmm.
I look at it, I kind of think about it being like, I could see that too good to be true. Like Jupiter kind of inflating something. I'm just
Yeah.
worried more about like emotions being bigger than they need to be in the way that we're relating with other people, and like extremes in terms of how we're feeling.
Yeah.
And kind
If
of,
we take that square into account, it can be challenging for conversation.
yeah, like it
Mhm.
seems like a some energy this week that might be best to pause, take a breath, come back to the conversation, right? Or like turn to someone, a third party, to like discuss and figure out a game plan before you go back to that person. I don't know.
Well,
That's
yeah, it's like taking sides almost. Like I see one person's side, I see the other person's side, but like I'm stuck here in the middle and I don't want to take somebody's side. Like, I don't want to. But because Jupiter is in Cancer, yes, I will care and I will show my support and I will try to be optimistic for both people. But at the same time, we know there's more to the story here. I can't just take one person's word and the other person's word. That's not the whole story. So, something about understanding that. And then we have Mercury move into Scorpio and we have a full moon to deal with, which
yes.
is in Aries. So,
Well, and before that, on Friday, right, we have Mercury
yes.
in Libra oppose Chiron in Aries, which we can see. Here's Mercury at 24 Libra, and here's Chiron at 25 Aries. So the time's not exactly right on this chart, but we can see that opposition happen. And then the full moon in Aries comes next as Mercury then moves into Scorpio. So I almost
Yeah,
Wonder if this is like a foreshadowing, the
it's
opposition.
like, oh, okay, here's like something good, and then as soon as Mercury hits that opposition to Chiron, there's hurt still, there's something triggering or wounding still, and
Yeah.
then Mercury moves into Scorpio where it's really it can sting with its words, you know. um, it's straightforward, and some of that truth is hard to hear sometimes. um, so yeah, the moon will move into Aries, Mercury will move into Scorpio by 12:40 p.m. that day, and then the full moon is just before midnight in Aries.
Yeah, here we go. So the moon opposes Libra, making that full moon in Aries.
Mm-hmm. Um, and that doesn't, and then Mercury will make a square to Pluto the next day.
And the moon is applying to square Jupiter.
Yeah, so it's not whatever happens tomorrow. Again, it's like the half of the story. And then we have this very dynamic full moon. Like it's an Aries full moon, which, if anybody knows the archetype of Aries, it's about the warrior. And with Mars ruling Mercury now, and Mars is also in Scorpio, ruling that lunation, yeah, it's not going to be a pretty one, I don't think. What do you think?
Well, I was also just thinking about how right now we have in the US, Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of it used to be Defense and now they changed it to War, Secretary of War, uh,
Mm.
calling this unprecedented meeting of all of the generals of the US Armed Forces
Oh,
together. And that seems to be very much tied in with this signature this week. So I'm curious if this full moon brings more to that story, that plot line that's unfolding.
that's a really good point. Like, is this a declaration of, if you don't choose peace, then we choose war? Like, that's what that opposition is, right? The sun in Libra versus the moon in Aries. It's the first lunation after the eclipse. It's still very up in the air as to what that means. And I'm not saying there's going to be a war. I'm not
No,
saying
but
that's what's happening here. It's people are getting agitated.
yeah, there's the themes. We can see the energy playing out, and also this lunation will like officially close the eclipse portal. At least the way that I look at eclipses. I know some astrologers look at it like a week after the eclipses. I really look towards the next lunation
Mm-hmm.
before and after the eclipses, which adds on another week of the eclipse energy. But interesting that a big part of the eclipse story here in the United States was the murder of Charlie Kirk. And I'm wondering if this next lunation also kind of ties that in some way because it has that interesting
Yeah, like how
energy.
is that gonna show up in like the law? When I think of Libra, I think of like the judicial system, the justice, that's sort of the law, the order
Yeah.
of things. How is what happened there gonna, like, I know Trump is trying to make martial law a thing. And I always, martial is so Mars and Aries. It's just, that's what it is. It's, yeah. Um, so is he gonna start putting people on every corner like he is in DC, you know? Are the other states gonna be okay with that? Are they gonna fight back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. And like I try to look at it through strictly an astrological lens and not let my like personal feelings about what's happening kind of come in. But I do, it's like that whole pledging fealty, like this meeting with the generals and kind of like some of the bits that I heard from it were like, we're done with that, the wokeness of the
Mhm.
military,
Mhm.
and like we're going back to like what it means when men were men type of like this is too soft. We need to harden things up, right? Is kind of the vibe. But also with Trump in general, there's always this energy of like pledging loyalty. Like if you don't, kiss the ring type of thing, you'll pay. Like you'll
Yeah.
become an enemy. Either you are bending the knee or you are an enemy. There's kind of that. There's not a whole lot of, oh, we're on equal playing ground
Yeah, no,
here.
there's no leeway there.
There's none of that. And that to me is very like this Mars in Scorpio
Hmm.
energy, because Scorpio is like that deep connection to the point of being possessive, like that you have to be loyal or else like Scorpio can also just cut things off. So
Yeah, yeah, for
it's
sure.
interesting that that's kind of an energy that's ramping up.
That and the fact that Mercury is now making the same square to Pluto that Mars just made. So if it was secret and undercover, Mercury is going to come in there.
And light it up.
Yeah, like that. Whatever we hear tomorrow is just the beginning of something that's going to take us into the next week, because Mercury squares Pluto on Tuesday after the full moon. So yeah, there's a lot going on here always.
Always.
Yeah.
And then also, we're getting ready for, we're looking ahead now, but I'm looking towards that Pluto stationing direct.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing that happens like what mid October, not next week,
The
but the week
13th, the
after.
week after. And then we're also, the week after that, then is the Mercury retrograde shadow period starts. So anything having to do with Mercury now, like I'm already thinking about the retrograde aspect of it, especially um, once Mercury goes into Scorpio right after the full moon, because it will retrograde back to, I don't have my whole Mercury
I
retrograde.
think it goes into Sag and then it does like a Sag Scorpio retrograde.
Yeah, I think that but it's definitely retrograding through Scorpio. We know that the shadow period will be in
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio still. So as soon as it even enters the sign, I think that there's some important things we could glean from the storyline,
Yeah, because
whatever
it'll make an
happens then.
opposition to Uranus a few times.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
So,
go over that in full as we
you
get
know,
closer.
we're getting ahead of ourselves here,
But
but
just to look ahead to some of the things that are coming up and the things to kind of pay attention to on a personal level. So when that full moon hits, which is, Mercury's going to go into Scorpio at 12:41 p.m. That's Eastern time. And then the full moon will be later that night, close to midnight. So I would say pay attention on Monday, especially to any of the themes that are coming up in your life, because those could be a little bit of a foreshadowing to things that will end up having to play out in the Mercury retrograde and kind of go back, revisit, right?
mhm.
Redo, readjust, reassess some of those things. So it could be a little sneak peek or preview into what's to come.
Yeah, and usually that Aries Libra stuff is about who I am versus who I am with other people, or how other people, where's the balance there? Is there balance there? Or am I doing the Libra thing where I put everybody before myself? Or am I going to do the Aries thing where I think about myself first and foremost and choose what's best for me? So that'll be a lot about what's going on leading up till to the full moon and past the full moon is unfortunately it's selfish at times, but it's really not, to do what's best for you in the long run.
Yeah, and just be aware with that. I completely agree with those themes of self and other. Something about Mercury being in Scorpio makes me think that the way that we'll be thinking about that, though, is kind of in these very black and white terms of like either deep connection or cut the cord.
Yeah.
And there is a tendency towards paranoia then,
Mm,
especially like having Mars and Scorpio and Mercury coming to conjunct that, like that we could be looking at that dynamic between self and other through the lens of like, well, what's their real motive? Like, let me get to the bottom of this. Like kind of like
yeah. The
side-eyeing.
detective energy,
Yes, detective energy.
investigating it. There's also obsession on the
Yeah.
other end of it. Like, I care so much about this other person that I lose myself completely because
Something about it just
it
to
does.
me means like maybe you do need to kind of take a step back from how you're thinking about it because it could be a little bit through a lens of paranoia.
Yes. Especially with that square to Pluto. Like,
Yeah.
that's really hard when intrusive thoughts take over. Uh, and you have to look at those shadows of those thoughts and those fears and be like, what is going on here?
Yeah, kind of
That
get to
sort
the
of stuff.
bottom of it and get some clarity. I would say, that the maybe the overall theme of the week is pause and connect to clarity before speaking, acting, doing, or committing to what you think about something.
Hmm. And it is difficult right now with Venus being the only planet in an earth sign in her fall. It's difficult to make the physical sense of what's going on make sense. There's like no logic here
Or
right
just
now.
stay grounded,
Yeah,
right?
to stay grounded. And sometimes we do. We just need to follow our intuition. And with Jupiter and Cancer, we have to sort of try to be optimistic and hope for the best. But don't get too carried away with that.
Good luck. So cynical over here. All
Yeah,
right.
thanks, Capricorn Moon.
On that note, so let's wrap that up for this week, and we will be back next week to kind of go over what's to come then. And in the meantime, feel free to connect with us on social media. You can find me at The Witch of Saturn on Instagram and on YouTube, on Facebook as well under Erin Lento. And you can always visit my website to book a reading, erinlento.com. Maggie, where can people find you?
I just have a Facebook page, so at Made by Mags Astro, you can find me there. And yeah, I just do all my bookings through Facebook basically. So reach out if you feel the need.
And you're such a great follow on Facebook because you do break this down in
Yes,
written
I do
form. So
daily posts every day. If you feel lost, there's something there. Hopefully it's helpful for people.
it is. It definitely.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.